hostess, Lauren Smith, and today I have a special treat for you guys. Rather than doing my normal show on the Wednesday, I am adding a bonus show today, and I have Daniel Lee. He is a cryptid researcher from the UK. And the special thing about Daniel is that he is a 14-year-old cryptid researcher. And as you all know, when I got into this game, I was about his age or a little bit younger. And so whenever I went to have him on the podcast, I was immediately excited to have him on because if I could imagine interviewing myself at that age, I feel like he's more passionate about it than I was at that age, but I'm really excited to talk to him and talk about his passion that got him out in the woods to look for the unknown. Also, as you know, I am a huge advocate for getting the young people out in the woods, the little footers, the next generation, and training them up right. This young man, he's not little, this young man already has the passion. He just needs guidance. And for that, he started the Mythical Legends podcast. And so he brings people on who have experience and have the expertise so that he can learn how to research cryptids in his own area. So without further ado, I'm going to bring him on. Be sure to hit that subscribe and notification button so you don't miss any other shows, and be sure to go check out his podcast. Okay. Hi, Daniel. How are you doing today?
Good day, you?
Perfect. It's like we already discussed, it's just absolutely miserable and hot here, and you have the exact opposite problem over there right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we chatted before the show because, as I told you, I absolutely could not wait to go live. I had questions before the show and wanted to just, I'm just so excited to have you on. So, like I said, I started this when I was like 13 or 14 years old. I was brought into it with my mom, and whereas I was excited about it, I was not passionate about it like you are. And I think that like you're already starting out on the right foot. And I'm so excited for you. I think that there are some great resources to lend you their expertise, which you are having on your podcast. So that's amazing. Okay, so how did you get into this?
So I began watching Expedition Bigfoot with my gramps, and I got interested into the fact of, is this real? Is this not? Is this not real? And at this point, this was a TV show for me, and it was a let. It's a bit of fun for us to watch, and then we got excited about the next season. And then when the next season came out, my cousin came to me and went, "Do you want to do an expedition in our forest?" I went, "Definitely, let's go for it." But because we're not used to Bigfoot in the UK, we started off with deer and searching for deer. And so when we went out, we had a great time, and we were searching. And when we returned from that expedition, I said to my nan, my cousin, my sister, "What if the chance Bigfoot is out there?" And they went, "Nah, it's not possible." I'm like, "Well, how do we know that for certain?" And I'll starting to ask those sorts of questions, and then I started to go, right, I want to get out there more. I want to search more, and still look for deer, but just have the experience. So we did 4 or 5 episodes until we realized, right, now we're ready for a change. Now we're ready to do something else. And we got together, and my dad helped, and I said, to learn more about this, why don't I start Mythical Legends? And and that's how it's grown from there, and now here today. That's how it's grown.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So, I told you I give a presentation here in the States over Little Footers, the next generation, bringing up the next generation in this. And half of my presentation is Bigfoot related, but mostly it's getting younger people outdoors in general. Teaching them to learn the wildlife in their area, to learn the plants and everything in their area, the flora and fauna of their area, but also teaching them to collect data and to collect evidence. And I give resources on where you can go to kind of learn about plants, rocks, to learn about the wildlife in your area, learn about wildlife sounds. But getting young people outdoors is kind of half the battle. And you can use Bigfoot as like a lure to get them out, or you can just like you expedition deer. You know that you have deer there. And so you said, well, let's go find them. Let's go look and study their habits, see how many we can see and what they're doing, what they're eating. Something that, you can grow off of that is Bigfoot eats deer, right? We think they eat deer. We think that so then you start looking at, can this habitat support Bigfoot? And as you found, it can. So then you start looking for evidence and you start looking for all of that kind of stuff. And you have found evidence over there. And I think that's phenomenal that you went out based on this. You took their practices and you were like, okay, well, let's go find something we know is here. You did that. And then it led you to, I think we found something that we know is not supposed to be here. And that's phenomenal. Like, I'm so excited for you. And I'm really thankful that your dad helped you start the podcast and get everything going. So now you can talk to people who have had experiences, get that expertise, and take your research to the next level. As we discussed, they're not supposed to be there. You're not supposed to have Bigfoot in the UK. Or the Irish Bigfoot Research Organization, they're not supposed to have Bigfoot there, but yet they have evidence. They've had sightings. They have a documentary about it. And then they also have a big cat thing that they cover. And then also Andy McGrath, he has one that he covers over big cats and other mythical creatures that aren't supposed to exist. So I think that you're doing a great job finding evidence to support something that's not supposed to be there and bringing that to the masses with your podcast. That's fantastic.
Thanks.
Yeah, we have a few people in the chat now, and they are really excited for you. They're getting that you're fascinating. I think it is fascinating that you've gone out and done this. So before Expedition Bigfoot, had you really heard of Bigfoot?
I heard it here and there.
Mm-hmm.
I never really had a thought. It was only again until my gramps had it on in TV. I never really thought about it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I didn't hear of any of the sightings because I didn't research it. I didn't, and this was about a year and a half ago, where I didn't even have a clue what was out there, and now a year and a half later, I now have my own podcast and doing my expeditions.
That's amazing. So, I know that you're looking for Bigfoot and other cryptids as well. What are some of the other cryptids that you're kind of keeping an eye out for or studying up on?
So, the aim of the expedition I've just been on was for the big cat, that we supposedly have here. I've done a few podcasts on ghosts, UFOs, and my dad had an experience with UFOs, and it's something that I keep an eye on, but I stay on the Bigfoot side only because I know a bit more, but I'm not passing it through. I still think about it. It's just at the back of my head.
Right. No, I get that completely. Hold on just a second. Your camera's kind of glitching. I'm going to minimize you and bring you back. Give me just a second. What is happening? Well, I can hear you, but I can't see you.
I can hear you, and I can't see any.
Oh, of course. This is how it usually happens. This might end up as an audio-only podcast, which stinks. Well, we'll just keep going. Maybe it'll resolve a little bit. That's frustrating. So my just so you know, my mom was into the paranormal and UFOs as well before she brought me into the Bigfoot thing. So I guess it's easier for me to believe in the paranormal and UFOs than Bigfoot at first, until I started, having experiences and stuff. All right. So we have a question from the chat. Craig Barnett wants to know, has Daniel interviewed anyone on his podcast? He sure has. He's interviewed quite a few people. I'll let you speak to that. But one is Jeff Meldrum, actually. I saw that you had on.
Yeah, that was the most incredible interview I've had. I think they've all been incredible, but Dr. Jeffrey Meldrum was probably the most interesting and amazing person to speak to, because he's, in my opinion, he is the leading scientist in the Bigfoot mystery, and that's in my opinion. I'm not sure if that's right, but he's so scientific, and he does have an open mind, but he then has the skeptical mind on his head as well, and
Right.
he does such a great job, and he's actually had his own experiences from himself, and I think
Yes.
that's amazing.
Yeah, he is one of our more premier scientists over here. His name is kind of synonymous with the scientific aspect of it, and one of the people that we go to. Anyone that has especially footprints and stuff like that, we want to go to him to have him verify it. And so he's one of our experts over here for sure. So I am so glad that you had him on your podcast and that you were able to learn from him, because he's phenomenal. Yeah.
And he is definitely one of the interesting scientists of the Bigfoot mystery.
Oh, definitely. I mean, we have quite a few over here. We actually have more scientists over here that aren't as well known, more researchers that aren't as well known, that are just font of information. Like, you could just learn so much from them, and a lot of them are just they're not the ones speaking at conferences, and they're not the ones on Discovery Channel. They are the ones that are out in the field doing this, and have like maybe a small YouTube channel about it or something like that. And so we have quite a few amazing people over here. Another question from the chat. What skills do you have that makes you good at exploring these phenomenons that could support others?
So I have autism, which can help me. Anything that I have an idea on, I will follow without a shout of doubt. I will follow it, whether it's the worst idea or the best idea. And I think that helps with some things, but then I also have a good knowledge, which can help as well. I think the autism helps with it. I think it's the best thing for memory and knowledge, but not for anxiety and stuff like that.
Right. All right. I'm going to switch you to your other camera real quick. Okay. Okay. All right. Huge thank you to Dad for coming in and rescuing that image. That's amazing. Okay, so we have you back. And so I think, over here in the States, especially, autism awareness is a very big thing over here. And so, just in my journey as a mother, I have learned because my son has ADHD and sensory processing disorder. And so, a lot of those, especially sensory processing disorder, it mirrors a lot of things that are going to come along with autism. And so I've learned so much about it, and I've learned that it's almost it has its silver lining, which is what you're speaking to. It has the silver lining of intense focus and being able to. Everything's a puzzle. Like you see it as a puzzle that has to be solved. Um, so I think that's phenomenal. And so whenever you decided to go out, what kind of research did you do on like what you needed to bring and how you were going to document, and did you have kind of an idea of how you were going to go about that?
So I'm one for if I think I need it, I will take it.
Yeah. Me too.
And I think to the beginning of the start of Expedition D, I took everything under the sun. Whether the expedition that I did this morning, I take a professional photo camera, and I also take a video camera, and the main two that I use. I also have a tripod which I use for stabilizing, and it's actually been quite good. I've caught quite a few deer on camera, and I also take obviously plaster of Paris. I've been experimenting with, and I just take the things that I think I need now.
Hmm.
That will be ideal for exploring.
That's amazing. It's hard because over here, to each their own. So I know one researcher that has all the high-end gadgets, but his most valued piece of equipment is a notepad and a pen, because he likes to jot down. If he hears something, he'll jot it down in the time. And or if he sees something, and he documents all of his findings on a notepad and pen. Now, I do that, but with my iPhone, I use my notepad app, and I just, type in real quick, because I usually have my phone, I have the Merlin Bird ID app. And so I will record, and it lets you know what the sounds you're hearing, what kind of bird it is. And I've had a lot of instances where I've recorded, and there's the sound I'm hearing sounds somewhat like a bird, but the Merlin Bird ID app will not identify it as a bird. So, but I always have my phone out with that app. And so I just started using my notepad app. So I think it's kind of tailored to how your brain works and how you research. Some people are more tactile, and some people are more technological and visual. And so I think that's great. I think the only thing that I would say you need, up until a few weeks ago, you had Mike Ann from Tactical Bigfoot Research. He had you on the show, right? And up until then, I would say the thing that I find that most people regret not bringing is like foot casting material. Until Mike came on my show, and he's like, "Oh, I use an app for that." He's like, "There's an app that scans the dimensions of a track," and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I don't even have to carry around casting material. So, that's the one thing that I know that so many people have regretted not bringing. And now there's an app for that too, of course. I mean, if there was an app to find Bigfoot, that we'd all be out of a job. All right, we've got another question. Sharon is from Shropshire. I don't know if you know where that is. She said, from Daniel's findings, where in the UK are the most sightings?
So I cover Somerset, in the Quantock forests, and I would say probably Scotland, from my research, is the most high sightings place throughout all my research in the UK. I would say I possibly have found something down here in Somerset. I can't say I have until I can prove it. I possibly up north, like north. But from my research, Scotland is the main place.
Okay. I before this show, I told Daniel that I was going to get him in touch with another cryptid researcher from the UK, and I know that he has done extensive and exhaustive research on sightings and kind of gathering that data. And so we're going to put Daniel in touch with him, and so he's going to be able to expand his knowledge of cryptid UKs exponentially. So I'm really eager for you to get in touch with him. I think that's going to be an amazing mashup. Like you two, y'all are going to take over the UK with your podcasts. Jim Barnett would like to know, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I could see myself doing it as a hobby right now. And really involved in it. I would possibly see myself as a self and possibly send off my findings. Go.
Okay.
I could see myself being some of the scientists in the future if I Bigfoot researching. It could be that I veer off a cryptid. I don't know yet. I haven't made my I should do yet, because right now it's interested me all. They are all to me. But I think Bigfoot will be the leading choice for me.
Daniel, I just want you to know that you are getting more questions in this chat than any other guest I've ever had on. Like, everyone is just so fascinated to have you on. They're so excited. So Jason King, he is from Texas here, and he wants to know, how about the big cats seen across your country? Have you looked into a lot of those reports? I know that you've probably heard about that before you went out.
So I looked into that was cited in like Gloucester, Cornwall. It hasn't been spotted in the Quantock, but it seems to be it's area. They haven't been seen in multiples yet. They've been seen in one, and I'm trying to research why they going in groups of one, but I'm not sure they've been seen over one yet. In the UK.
I think that we have the same here. We're not supposed to have like black panthers and such here, but we do. We're actually not even supposed to have, down in Texas, I think there's big cats that we're not supposed to have there, but they're like, oh yeah, no, we don't have those. And we're like, but we've seen them. So, I mean, that's just how it goes. From Craig, does Daniel look into any other cryptids?
Into UFOs. I'm really interested by them because the relation to Bigfoot. I'm like, I can't make my decision on what I think yet, but I think out with any other UFOs that I research.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the other unknown that, I mean, there's a ton of sightings and evidence to support that too. So, I actually have, that used to be one of my standard questions to ask experienced researchers is, have you had a UFO experience and have you had a UFO experience while having a Bigfoot experience? Because I do know people who have had both. That is a viable research avenue. Absolutely. All right. Have you read or heard anything about any other fascinating creatures out where you are?
We've heard small beast, which is, I think, a cat. It seems to be our Bigfoot to you guys, that we hear more about the actual beast than we do, and it seems to be that we have a place called Exmoor where cat-like thing is being found. I haven't done as much research into it, but say fascination of a lot of people over here in Southwest, an hour and a half down the road from where this cryptid is. Amazing. But I want to explore, and that's a lot to cover. But I'm going out and going what I find. Team that I go out with, is like, let's just go a bird of prey. If we and thus possible Bigfoot prints. I don't know, but that's our local one here.
Gotcha. So you guys, just FYI, real quick, I'm going to throw in, so Daniel did start his own podcast over kind of the research he does, but also to have other people on that can lend their experiences and expertise. So, we have, you can listen to those on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Amazon Music. Just want to add that in there real quick before we jump over. Let's see if we can. Hold on, Dad's coming in clutch. Thank you, Dad. Okay. All right. Awesome.
There you go.
Okay. Amazing. Gosh, I wish I had that kind of help whenever I'm doing my podcast and I get like glitchy and stuff. I just have to text my mom and just be like, hey, pray for the show because like it's not going well. There's glitches, there's, so it'd be nice to have someone come in and be like, here's your alternate equipment. You've got a great support team. And that's something that I was going to talk about is that, so you and your cousin do this, right? He's your research partner, which my mom is my research partner. So I've had a great support team when I go out. But so you have a great support team. Your dad supports you. Your sister supports you. Sounds like your nan supports you because she went with you today, right?
Very much, yeah.
That's phenomenal. And so tell me about your expedition today that you had.
So the expedition today, we were going to do a 3-day expedition split over the course of a week. And because obviously we don't have the facility to stay overnight, So we for 3 days, and today was part 2, and we on Thursday we went and we explored, and we actually found these deep impressions, and it was actually my nan who looked over and went, "What's that?" And I turned around and went, "I have no idea." And we, for a minute and a half, no words came out. It was
Oh no, you froze on me. I feel like that's about right. Like he gets to the good part and it would freeze. All right, let's see if I can bring him off and then back on real quick. Let him unfreeze over there. As you guys know, technology is not always friendly. Like I've had a guest in Hawaii that I had absolute misery trying to keep him on. Okay, he dropped off. He'll be right back. Okay, hold on. There we go. Okay, he's back. All right, hold on. Dad to the rescue again. Hi. You got to the good part and then you went away and it was so sad. Okay, so you found a possible track, and I think you froze again. Nope, there you are.
I'm in.
Okay. Tell me about this track, because I think you said the size was what really stood out to you as it made it being something non-human and special.
So when we were stood over this track, I had a ruler in my bag. Good. And we got the ruler out, and my ruler is 30 centimeters, and it was way over that. So we went back home and we got the tape measure, and it measured to be about 18 inches. And we both looked at each other and went, "Why is this in the middle of the forest?"
Yeah.
And it's 18 inches. And we measured depth, and it was 3 centimeters in depth, and it was really, really large track. And we saw this game trail going through, and we spent hours going up that game trail, and we kept finding these flat spots where it might have stood. And at the beginning we were saying it's just an indentation, until I went home and researched it, and a lot of the scientists were saying it looks pretty real. It looks, and the thing is, here we don't have hoaxers because not many people in the UK would think to go up to the forest and hoax a Bigfoot print. Right. Now, I still can't say personally that it's a Bigfoot print, but I can say for definite that it wasn't a human that made this. Whether it was the natural things that made it, but I can tell you for definite that was not a human.
Right. And so just for everyone out there, we discussed before the show, Daniel he's very skeptical. He is passionate about the Bigfoot phenomenon, and he, of course, wants to believe that they're real. He wants to go find these things, but he is also very skeptical. So just so you guys know, he is not... just due to his age, he is not blindly going out there thinking that everything is Bigfoot. He does his due diligence, and he's very skeptical about it. So I just want to throw that out there because we had talked about it before and we hadn't brought that up yet. Well, I think that's amazing that you found that. And that kind of, I don't know about for you, but for me, whenever I find things like that, it lights a fire under me and I get even more excited, and it makes me want to go right back out. So we had another question. Jim Barnett wants to know, he or she is wondering, how would you capture what's happening at nighttime? So have you done any night expeditions or anything?
So I'm still 14. I'm not the biggest fan of the dark, and I'm gonna say that,
Absolutely fine.
and my nan isn't the best fan of the dark.
Yeah.
But I invested in 2 trail cameras.
Okay.
And I have actually left them up there now. And I've put one in front of where the footprints and one where we found some other things going on. And that's, I think, the way that we're going to capture it at the moment. If when we evolve and we can afford to do overnight, we'll do it. But right. I think right now we're up early and we're there for the majority of the day researching, and then for the night watch we put trail cams up and stuff like that.
Okay, awesome. I mean, the trail cams for sure, but also just audio recorders. The Olympic Project, they do a long-term audio recorder that they kind of leave out there for a long time, and then they go back and review all that audio. So that might be something as well to, but until you can get out there to do a night expedition. And a night expedition does not guarantee activity. As your dog coming in? He wants to see. Either that or you have a ghost, which is great for this show. I mean, you have paranormal activity right there. But I think that I think you're doing great with what you have and what you can do right now. Now, Jason King had a great question, and I don't think I've ever had this question answered about the UK Bigfoot phenomenon. In your reports that you have, if you have read reports in that area, are the creatures flat-faced or do they have a snout? Have you heard of any snouted Bigfoot over there?
Just repeat that question.
Okay. So are your creatures over there, the Bigfoot creatures specifically, are they flat-faced or have you heard of any with a snout?
So I've been speaking to some Bigfoot witnesses and Bigfoot investigators, and there's one, Deborah Hatswell, who knows a lot about the UK Bigfoot. I'm being completely honest, I don't know. I do know that they're not like yours in America. We have a slightly different species, and I'm currently researching it right now on what is the UK species Bigfoot then. What do we have? What features does it have? And I will be really, really interested to know when and what this creature is in the UK.
Right, absolutely. Do you just how you feel right now? Because here in about 10 years, I'm going to have you back on the show when you're an internationally known cryptid hunter and you have had your own shows on Discovery Channel and such. I'm going to have you back on and I'm going to refer to this show and say, remember when I first had you on, Daniel, you said that you thought Bigfoot might be such and such. How do you feel now? So I want you to answer. When you have watched Expedition Bigfoot, when you've done the research you have, when you've talked to Dr. Jeff Meldrum and other researchers, do you think they're paranormal related, or do you think that they're a flesh and blood creature?
That's a really amazing question. I'm split between that one. I can say maybe these creatures have evolved before we have. And it's like on Expedition Bigfoot, the invisibility, when they went into the science lab, they actually said that we've actually confirmed invisibility. So that made me think, well, if we've confirmed it, who says that a creature out there couldn't do it before us? I don't personally think that they are this ghost. I don't personally think that it's a portal. I think it is a flesh and blood creature that possibly could do the odd sort of thing that we don't understand, and that doesn't bode well with me. I like to know the answer, and I like to whether with this, I have no idea what this creature could be capable of.
Absolutely. I think that, we talk about the men who stare at goats and other government related things that we've done, that the people that can access that 10% of the brain that other normal people cannot access. I think, this creature has adapted over the years, and they're, first of all, to me, they're smart enough to stay away from humans for the most part. So I feel like they're very sentient, obviously. And if a creature, let's just say a human, if they were primitive and they stayed away from mankind, civilization, technology, and adapted over the years to survive, like our Native Americans over here, they hunted, they hid. Native Americans here, so I've spoke to quite a few of my Native American friends, and they've explained how movement is the only thing that would give you away in the woods. Otherwise, you could stand there and no one would see you. They would walk right by you. Tracking, hunting, using herbs to survive, using different primitive methods to survive. These things, they're wood wise. Yeah, they can survive without all that. But to me also, they haven't had their higher brain function hasn't been limited by technology, medication, and all of the things that we have, that we don't have to use those to survive anymore. And these things do. So whereas we think them being able to, simply kind of fade into the background and disappear, we, being us, we're like, oh, well, of course they have to have superpowers. And I'm like, I mean, if camouflaging is a superpower, I'm not saying that they couldn't be paranormal. I'm not saying that maybe they couldn't have some paranormal abilities, but I think that we don't quite give enough thought to, they aren't us, and they aren't normal woodland creatures either. Like, they are a sentient being that has access to their primitive faculties that we lost access to a long time ago. Whenever we invented fire and the wheel, yeah, we were done. We lost all that. We lost all the good stuff that, can keep us alive and has kept us alive since the dawn of time. So I think that my advice to you would be, keep an open mind, which it sounds like you do. You have a great open mind, but try to find the science to support whatever you're researching also. But I know that, there's a lot of people that are just so focused on flesh and blood that they will not even open their mind to the fact that these creatures might be capable of something outside of the human wheelhouse. They're not humans. So we do have to have a little bit of an open mind.
The thing that gets me is, why haven't we got a picture of this creature? Why?
Yes.
And that gives me the indication, possibly to back up what you're saying, that possibly that this creature could have abilities that maybe we don't understand. And that is one of the main questions for me, is why haven't we got the perfect image nowadays, when 50 odd years ago we got the Patterson Gimlin film, and it's still being analysed now, where why haven't, with the amazing technology that we've got now, why haven't we got a photo? Which is why I think maybe that will open the possibility of that paranormal element.
Maybe so. You just have to kind of keep an open mind. But keep an open mind, but also stay skeptical. Also, I think you're doing great. Like you said, you went out into the woods today to take a trek out in the woods, go on a little bit of an expedition, but you kept an open mind the whole time you were out there. But you stayed grounded. You have to have that even mix. And I tell people when you get tunnel vision that you think that they are a certain thing and they do this a certain way. When you get that tunnel vision, you kind of miss out on possible other evidence and facts that could solve the mystery for you. So you do have to keep an open mind. Absolutely. I think that's going to be your greatest superpower when you're out in the woods, specifically being in the UK, where you don't have Bigfoot. We don't have big cats. We don't have anything except, like the Loch Ness monster. That's all you'll have, obviously. So I think that it's fantastic that you're out looking for this stuff and that you're so passionate about it. That's amazing to me. Like, I think you're a phenomenal person. I've been sitting here listening to you this whole time, and I'm sure I have this like super loving mama bear look on my face, but it's just, I am so proud of you, and I'm so stoked that you're getting out and doing this in your area. And
Thank
I
you.
know that we do have young people here who are doing it, but your passion has launched you out, starting these expeditions, gathering this intel and information, and then starting a podcast about it. Like, that's just, I'm very proud of you. I'm having like a super mama bear moment over here, being proud. And also just, coming from this, I grew up in this my entire life. And so it feels good to know that there are other young people that are passionate about this. All right. A few more questions, guys, and then we'll start getting ready to let Daniel get on with his day. It's almost 6 there. And, but what are your plans for like, let's say the next year? Like, do you have anything special planned, or just continuing your research? Like, what are your goals that you have lined out?
So I as a separate hobby, I also make films with my nan as well, and
Mm-hmm.
I plan to possibly make a Bigfoot film with her, and possibly add some cool facts in there, and that would link in with the expeditions. Eventually, I want to get a bit further than the Contact Hills, as in the Contact Hills is quite massive.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to start going a bit further if I was going to continue with the same mystery. I could move on to UFOs or the
Mm-hmm.
external beasts that we have. But that is my plan for the next year or so, is to continue with the layout that I'm going with now, continue with the podcast, and the podcast educates me for then the expedition, that then we can relay those ideas, facts onto our own research and own work that we do.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Getting into filmmaking and documentaries and all that, like, I feel like that for some people it goes hand in hand with the research. If you have that aptitude, if you have the skills and kind of how your brain works to make those films and document that process, I think that that's an amazing tool to use. Kind of goes along with the notepad and note paper. If like I said, like, if you have a GoPro on you or something and you can document that process, that's an amazing tool for research also. Yes. So David would like to know, what is your favorite cryptid?
I would be torn between UFOs and Bigfoot. If
Mm-hmm.
I was going to pick on the spot, I think I would pick Bigfoot, because it's such an wide world thing. And the fact that what I had in my mind when I was going out this morning was, what if together as a team with all the researchers in the UK, and it's very few that we eventually got and kind of got the evidence that you guys do in America and all across the world, because that would be an amazing step for us here in the UK. But that's I think Bigfoot would be the one for me.
That's awesome. So you're 14. We have all these older people that are out doing the things. We have, well-known researchers who are older. For people your age, what is your best advice for them to get into this?
Again, my advice would be to maybe take a walk out in the forest and see what and just see what you see. It's what I did this morning, and it's what I will continue to do with my team. And I will or just watch TV about Bigfoot, because you'll learn either way. It's how I learn. It's how I got into this. And with watching Expedition Bigfoot, I learn something every time I watch it. I'm one for, once I found the program that I like, I will watch it over and over again until I move on. So I learned so much from Expedition Bigfoot. I had enough knowledge to be able to start the expedition and to be able to start the podcast. So yeah, take a walk out in the forest, and just see what you see. If you see a bird, see a bird. If you see something that you think is Bigfoot, you think it's Bigfoot. Just don't let your imagination start to take over your whole thing. Right. Be led by what you know.
Absolutely. That's a fantastic answer. Fantastic. That's exactly what you made me proud with that answer, because you do, in order to find Bigfoot, or if you're interested in the unknown or anything like that, you do have to go outside, get out and get into nature and see what you see. You answered it perfectly. There's nothing I could add to that. Like, it's perfect. All right. So I think we could probably take one more question, and then I'm gonna go ahead and call it. And so let's see. We have, let me see. So your podcast, you've had a pretty great lineup. I know that, like I said, you guys can follow on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Amazon Music. You guys go subscribe and like his podcast, go comment, positive reviews if you did enjoy it. You guys definitely support him, get him kind of out there, because the more we get him out there, the more resources he can get to find cryptids in his area. So Jim Barnett wants to know, who else do you have coming up on your podcast, if you don't mind sharing a little bit of your lineup?
So I will say how many I've got in the next few weeks. I've got 22 in the next 5 weeks.
Daniel, that's phenomenal. Like, I'm so proud of you. I will tell you guys, this young man is tenacious. So whenever we first linked up, Amy Boo put us in touch, and I was so excited to have him on, like, immediately, if not sooner. We were actually going to do a collaboration between his dad and him and my mom and me, because we're, it just kind of resonated with me that we all researched and as young people. And so around that time, my son had an accident and had a very bad head injury and had to have emergency surgery. And so Daniel was so patient. He's like, okay, let's reschedule. And then shortly after, I think we were getting him scheduled, and Daniel kept reaching out. Is everything okay? Do we need to reschedule? Can we reschedule now? Shortly after that, my son had another head injury when we were hiking, actually, and had to have stitches. And so Daniel has been so patient, but he's also been very consistent in reaching out. So you guys, this young man is tenacious. He is passionate about this. He wants to tell the world about what he's got going on, but he also wants to gain information from the world. So you guys definitely go follow him. Follow his podcast. He posts, actually, like whenever he does go out and goes on his expeditions, he posts pictures from it of things. And he isn't posting these to say this is a Bigfoot print. He is posting to share what he found, what it could possibly be, but he wants to hear from you kindly. He wants to hear feedback. He wants, to hear your expertise, or, any advice or support. So I just want you guys to support him as much as you can. Again, you can listen to Mythical Legends podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Amazon Music. If you go to his Facebook page for Mythical Legends podcast, or you have your Facebook page for that, you guys can find all of those episodes there, including the Jeff Meldrum episode. So with that, I think we are going to call it a show. And if you guys have any other questions, you can always reach out to him. So thank you so much for coming on today, Daniel. You've been amazing. Very well worth the wait. And thank you for being so patient with me getting you on. And I cannot wait to collaborate with you in the future. I wish you well. And I cannot wait to have you back on in 10 years when you're a celebrity filmmaker and documentarian. And I'm going to put you in touch with a few people that I think would do great to further your research as well as your filmmaking, because I know a lot of good filmmakers as well. So thank you so much for coming on. Good luck with your podcast and your research. Please keep in touch.
Thank you.
All right. Bye. Thank you, Daniel. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. I know that it was kind of a weird time frame on a Sunday, but I like to accommodate my guests if I possibly can. Daniel is a phenomenal young man. As you guys heard in the beginning of the show and all through the show, I am a huge advocate for having our younger people out in the woods. Little footers, they're the next generation, and we have a duty to teach these kids the right way to do it and support them in coming up, and make sure that they know that we support them, and to not belittle them or keep them at home because it's not safe. Teach them the safe way to go out in the woods. Teach them the safe way to Bigfoot. I don't advocate tying a stake around their neck and leaving them out in the field as bait. I would rather us take them out hiking during the day. And like Daniel said, just get out in the woods, get out in nature, learn as much as you can about your surroundings, and maybe find Bigfoot along the way. So thank you guys for being here today. Please go like and follow his podcast, because he is a phenomenal young man and he's got big things going. I'm very, very impressed with my chat today. You guys were so wonderful. Y'all had amazing questions and support and love for him, and I am here for it. So thank you all for being here. We have the archive, Night Callers archives, going up every other Wednesday. On the Wednesdays, I don't have those. I have a live show. So please be sure to hit the subscribe button, because I've noticed that a lot of you are not subscribed to my channel, actually, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss when I do put everything out when I do. Because life. Thank you. Stay safe. Be kind. And